Awesome. This will be recorded for folks that couldn't make it due to work, childcare, whatever you have. We're going to be doing this info session a total of 4 times, 3 virtual, 1 in person at actual Balay Kreative at our Be Free Festival, which is Saturday, June 8th. So feel free if you think of a question that I didn't answer today, then come to any of our info sessions, stay to the end to ask questions. Also, if you want to come see the studio in person, please come June 8th at our Be Free Festival. It'll be happening from 12 to 6. And we'll have more information on our social media and on our website at the end of this week. All right, so I'm Nicole Saliver. I am the program manager at Balay Kreative. Welcome, everyone, to our Creative Growth Artist Residency Program Info Workshop. Iggy is going to introduce themselves, and they're also going to talk a little bit about what is Balay Kreative and Cultivate Labs. Go ahead, Iggs.
Yeah, so welcome everyone. I'm Balay Creative's program coordinator and Nicole's number 2. I'm also available if you have any questions too over email. And I'm really excited to share more about our organization and the context of our work and also the Creative Growth Program. So today, this is the agenda. I'm going to talk about, again, just context for why we're doing this. Nicole's going to get into the details of the program, timelines, answering questions, and all that good stuff. Okay. So when we talk about Cultivate Labs and our relationship to San Francisco, we always go back to the history. And so in the 50s and the 60s, Manila town was gentrified to make room for the financial district. And so what happened was that a lot of Black and Brown families, not just Filipinos, but primarily us, were pushed southward into SOMA, or South of Market of San Francisco, which we are based in. And so all of our work, we keep in mind our initiatives of placemaking, really keep in mind, like, we have this history of harm and gentrification, but what can we do to take up space and continue to uplift those who are doing the work here in the area? This is a map. Oh, this is a map of just kind of the geography I'm talking about. So former Manila town, and you can see in the orange area, this is where we're currently located, and all of our efforts are concentrated here. And in 2016, it was officially named SOMA Pilipinas, or the Filipino Cultural District. And so what we're trying to do as an organization is to create a commercial corridor. So we kind of know what Chinatown and Little Saigon and Japantown look like, but part of our work is reimagining what would that look like for and by us, Filipino Americans in the diaspora. And part of the ways that we target this is through Balay Creative, and this is Cultivate Labs' arm in addressing the gaps in entrepreneurship and creativity amongst our own community. So as you know, like, we're really prolific in healthcare, government, tech, and real estate. But we want to find ways to, make sure that our entrepreneurs and our creatives have financially sustainable ways to continue their art and to generally like grow. And this is, like, a benefit to all San Franciscans, not just Filipinos. So we're trying to also create something that's inclusive. This is also folded into the Creative Growth Program because, as you know, we have final presentations that are open to the public at the end. And yeah, this is just a little more detail on us. If you didn't know, Cultivate Labs helps to organize Undiscovered in the fall, and I believe this is our 8th year or 8th season running Undiscovered. It's the huge outdoor night market and day market. It's been a mix. And so with that, we've had vendors, performers, artists showcasing their work, and also building community. So oftentimes we see the same folks come through. And we definitely notice, like, building a community means that we're consistent and we're showing up to meetings like this, seeing each other, asking questions. And on top of that, other than our creative growth program, Balay Creative is also home to community workshops where we invite folks to teach their craft. We've had plant sculpting, moss workshops, watercolor, pretty much anything creative you can imagine. Improv workshops recently. On top of that, we also have a youth podcast program this summer. So if any of you have kids in high school, you guys got nieces, nephews, cousins, we highly encourage you to check that out through our website. We're still accepting applications up until next week, next Wednesday. So yeah, I think with that, if there's no questions about our organization, our mission, I'm going to pass it off to Nicole to talk about creative growth.
Yeah, thanks, Iggy. So we always start our presentation with the why, right? Why are we here? Why are we doing this program? Why is it important that we're in the SOMA and not, let's say, Daly City or San Ramon or Vallejo? And a lot of it has to do with the gentrification of Filipinos and us, like Iggy said, wanting to take up space. Part of us wanting to take up space is showing not only, San Francisco officials, but just communities in San Francisco that Black and brown folks have been here and we're here to stay. And so this is why the Creative Growth Artist Residency Program was created, so that we could help other BIPOC artists flourish in the SOMA area. And so when this first was created, for those that remember, it was called Creative Growth Grants, and the focus was just on grant money. We've since evolved this program to become a residency program. So not only are we giving you money to work on your craft, to focus on your art, but we want to also help you thrive, right? So on top of money, we give mentorship, we give tuition to our masterclass series, which I'll go into deeper. And we give you access to industry professionals who are not just hobbyists, like their bread and butter is from their art, from their creativity. That's their business. And so this is what we want to provide for artists. We want to help everyone evolve in their artwork and also help with the business side of things, because we're often not told as artists, I'm an artist myself, that we get to focus on those things. We get to focus on our finances and counting and all these other things, the nitty gritty of the business side. And we're here to help all of that. So next slide. So this is our previous from 2022 creative growth artist, Nick Bo. She was my first cohort when I became program manager at Balay Kreative. And this is a quote that she shared with us. And she said, being a Balay Kreative artist has been a great experience because of the way Balay manages the program. I feel like I've been able to devote more of my energy to actually making art instead of worrying about admin. And so again, Iggy and I are here to support you through this whole residency so that you can focus on you. And we help with marketing. We help with all the nitty gritty of the events. We set you up with space in the SOMA area. Next slide. And so we had this question at the start of the workshop. I'm really glad people asked eligibility. As long as you're 21 up, you live in somewhere in the Bay Area. I don't care if it's Vallejo, San Jose, Pacifica, as long as you are in the does it count counties or the major counties of the Bay Area? We have them all listed on our website. You qualify. As long as you're 21 up, you qualify. It doesn't matter if you're Filipino American, if you're half Filipino American, if you're not Filipino American at all. We are a Filipino American and Filipinx focused organization, but this year we are opening it up to all folks. We say BIPOC, but of course, we also open up to allies too. So this project really is to support arts in the SOMA and to bring more arts into this district. So that's also something that you must focus on, whatever your project is, whether it's a stand-up show, an album release, film that you want to create, and then have your preview or your red carpet event in SOMA, then it has to be here in the SOMA Cultural District. And that'll be in either January or February of next year. So you have all of this year to work on your project, and then you present it in the SOMA January or February. So goals of this, again, like I said, we want to spark an artist renaissance here in SOMA. We want to bring not just people from outside of San Francisco into the SOMA to see our cultural district and experience what it's like to be here in the SOMA, but we also want to create artist events for the SOMA community members that are already living in the SOMA. There are still Filipinos that live here, y'all. And so we want to build that community. We want to give back to the community that's here, whether they're the seniors, the elders that we hold, or the youth that go to Bessie Carmichael. So there's still Filipino families, there's Black and brown families all over the SOMA area, and we're really doing this for them so that they have places to go and see art and be amongst culture. We also want to develop arts as an economic driver in the SOMA. So people have options to donate to you and these artist events that we will have in January and February. And of course, we want to support you, the artists. It's been my mission since I started as program manager at Balay Kreative to be the person in an artist's life to tell them, yes, it's possible. You can do this, right? I think a lot of the messaging we get as younger folks in the 80s and 90s, especially brown and Black folks, is you can't do art. You're going to be struggling, right? Focus on something else. And so I want to change that narrative for artists, especially in brown and Black and underrepresented minority groups, that it is possible and we can do it. And we are here to help you. And so that's my personal goal for this program. Next slide, please. So this is the nitty gritty of what you're going to be getting. For visual artists, it's gallery space, right? We're partnering with CAST again this year. CAST is a beautiful building on Minna Street. It's right there next to 5M Park. They're giving us access to their black box theater and their lobby area for visual artists. Black box theater, if you want to use it. Last year we had a fashion show there. Nicole from Niana Collection showed off all of her beautiful turnos in her fashion show last year. We also had a lot of films being previewed there. One of the filmmakers last year was Rachel Lucero, and she did her whole series, Sago series, there. We also had musical artists like Nick Bo and Wida perform there. And then we have access to other venues too, like Copwell Gardens. So if you're a musical performer and you want a bigger venue that can hold like 300 to 500 people, we have Copwell Gardens. That's a beautiful outdoor urban garden right next door to Balay Kreative. And then we also have partnerships with other folks in other venues in the SOMA area. You also get a creative mentor. This is something that we started in 2022. We partner with professionals in all various fields, whether that's music to film to comedy, and we partner you with one mentor. So you get to choose who's your mentor. 1 year, Nick Bo chose Ruby Ibarra. So Ruby was her mentor. Another person was Wida. She was also a singer, songwriter, producer, and she wanted someone that was a producer. So I partnered her with Kari Mateen, and he is this Grammy nominated music producer that's done scores for almost all the documentaries on Netflix. So with our network, we are able to partner with folks that other artists might not have, especially emerging artists might not have access to. Next slide. So this are just pictures of Balay for those that have never been there. We also give you 3 months of studio space at Balay Kreative. So that can look like September, October, November, or maybe October, November, December, depending on what your needs are. We also have options for co-working spaces in the SOMA area if you don't need art studio space. Maybe you're a writer, a screenplay writer, you just need an office space to get out of your own home. I know that I always need that kind of stuff because I'm a working mom. And so being creative outside of my home is more conducive to my writing. So we have also access to co-working spaces like Trellis, which is down the street from Balay and Copwell Gardens. Next slide. And then the programming spaces that I talked about, these are actual pictures from the different places. So Cast, the Black Box Theater, is the one all the way on your maybe right. And then their gallery space is up on the left. And then Balay Creative, we have a streaming hub, which is a beautiful streaming hub. If you look behind me, this is what it looks like. So if you do content creation, Rachel filmed all her interviews for her documentary series at our streaming hub. She also did her cooking here at our streaming hub, and she filmed it there. We also had previous filmmakers film like a party scene at Balay Creative. You know, you can get really creative. And if you need other spaces like Copwell Gardens, you need to film something there. We had Mikey V film his music video there. If you go on his YouTube, you can see it at Copwell Gardens. So you can have photo shoots. We had Larry the Musical cast and crew do their professional photo shoots at Copwell Gardens. So it's really flexible as far as like your vision for your project and your needs as far as space. And we're also very flexible on what you need. You just let us know. Next slide. So again, just in detail, Masterclass series is a series. It's the 8 to 10 week series that we created for artists, right? So it goes from things like starting an LLC to how do you write a grant? For some folks, this might be the first application that you write as an artist. For others, you might be professionals, but maybe you want to talk to people who are on the other side of the grant writing process, the people on the panels, the judges, the people who are actually funding. So we have connections to Zellerbach Foundation, we have connections to SFAC, and those people will give you their tips and their advice on the best way to write a grant for either a foundation or a federal grant, a government grant, whatever is out there. We also have master classes on PR. We have a amazing publicist, Paloma, who from Papa Lowdown, and she did all the PR for Larry the Musical. You know, she does all the PR for Undiscovered, and she teaches a really great in-depth master class on how to do PR as an independent artist. We also have a marketing manager who comes in and does a master class on marketing and social media. We have one on client acquisition. So these are all workshops geared towards artists that want to take their artistry to the next level. And what's something different about this program this year is we actually require you to take this master class, right? One, it's virtual. So if you're already in your head like, oh, I don't know if I can make it, my schedule is so jam-packed on evenings, I work on the evenings, I have to feed my kids in the evenings, don't worry, it's all virtual and I record them. So if you can't make it that day in person, online on Zoom, we record it just like we're recording it right now, and we make it available to you to watch on your own time, on a weekend, on a Sunday, on a Monday morning, whenever you need to. Next slide, please. And the mentoring too is available to you, but it's also something we expect you to use. You know, if we connect you with someone like Ruby Ibarra or I don't know, a gallery owner, whoever maybe it's a business coach, maybe it's not an artist, you want to talk to a business coach, we will connect, we will pay that fee for you so that you don't have to worry about it. It's free. You just need to show up and take notes and have questions ready. That's literally all you need to do. So we do this so one, you can get that guidance, you can get that support through that year, through this year, to see your project finished all the way through, right? You can develop technical skills, maybe explore business potential, gain support in navigating this next stage of your career and development. Next slide, please. This is Amara from our 2022 cohort. She said her mentor was an amazing leader and artist, and throughout the entire process of making her film, her short film, my mentor helped me hone in on the whys of storytelling and importance of stakes. She provided amazing insight into different parts of the filmmaking process. Next slide. And so here's the nitty gritty. How much money am I going to get? All right, well, it depends on your track, right? So film and media, we're giving one artist stipend away, and that's $5,000. So film and media, that's short or long films, multimedia productions, podcasts, an animated series, maybe even digital content creation, performance. For performance art, we're giving away one artist stipend for $4,000, and that can be something like dance. We've had 2 dance performance artists in the past 2 years. Theater, it could be puppetry. Ramona Bod was one of our creative growth artists, I think in the first cohort, 2020. Circus acts, if any of you are circus acts. Poetry or spoken word is also considered performance art. Basically anything that's live and uses your voice, facial expressions, body language to communicate your vision or story. That's performance art. And then visual arts, we give $3,000 to 2 visual artists. So that's 2 separate people. And that can be anything like painting, drawing, ceramics, sculpture, printmaking, design, weaving, any kind of crafts or photography, fashion and textiles. And then we have the music track, and we have 2 stipends for that, $4,000 each. That could be an album. Mikey V did a whole album. I think he has like 13 or 14 songs on his album. And then, or you could do an EP. I think Nick Bo only did like 5 songs for her EP in 2022. You can do music videos, soundscapes. It could be anything. It doesn't even have to have lyrics. The main emphasis for this track is that this work is a form of a song or musical composition. And then the newest track, which I'm super excited to announce, is comedy. We're giving $2,000 away for that. So that can be stand-up, improv, sketch, and sketch can be in person, like live performance sketch, theater sketch, or digital. Like if you want to do a bunch of digital sketches for YouTube, let's say, comedic writing, or just digital content creation that's comedy based. So those are our tracks, and that's how much we're giving away in each track. Again, if you have questions, feel free to put in the chat, or we can wait to the end. I'll unmute folks at the end, but this is what we have. It's also, all this information's on our website too, if you forget, or you can screenshot this. Next slide, please. So here's the nitty-gritty of the application. Folks have been asking, can I save my application in Typeform? So we use Typeform. It worked for me, but I would just say this. My tip to you is copy and paste all the questions. Iggy is putting, we either already did this or it's going to happen tomorrow. We put all the questions on our website in the form of a PDF. I would say copy and paste all those questions into either Google Doc, a Word doc, notes on your phone, and work from there as like a first draft. Once you're done with that first draft and you feel good about it, then start pasting your answers into the type form. So let's say like towards June, Like work on all your answers in May, work on your mood board, your work samples, get all that stuff together in one Google Doc. And then when you're ready to actually hit the apply button on our website, then paste all that information into the type form. That's like number one tip. Number two tip, once you have your application in a good place, maybe you've created your mood board, maybe you put all your work samples into one document, book a one-on-one with me. Actually, no, tomorrow or today, book a one-on-one with me or Desi ASAP, because you know what's going to happen if you wait long and you wait till like next week. We're not going to have any one-on-ones left. I will tell you that right now. Last year, all my one-on-ones got booked up within, I would say, 72 hours of these info sessions. So don't procrastinate. Number one tip, don't procrastinate. Book a one-on-one with me. Get your application as best as you can, first draft done before your one-on-one with me or Desi, and then show us what you have. Ask questions. Let us know, like, what do you feel about this? Is this great? How about my mood board? Do I have too many work samples? We're here to help you. And I will say this, out of all the people that booked one-on-ones with us, at least 50% of those people got into our program. Because those are the 50% that took our advice. So we want people to score high with the judges. I'm not the one judging and scoring all these applications. We have a panel of 9 judges. I'm not going to tell you who, but they're within the community. They're also from different various artists' backgrounds. Some are in film, some in comedy, some are visual artists. Some are community members that are just really invested in SOMA. They want to see us thrive. So the more you get information from us and utilize Desi and I as a resource, the higher you're going to score, right? Because we will give you the advice, whatever you need. But also, you can submit questions. You don't have time to book a one-on-one, that's fine. Or you waited too long and all our one-on-ones are gone. Then submit a question either here or on our website, right? We have a little area in the resources where you can submit questions and then we will answer them as they come in our fact sheet. And we'll post the fact sheet on our website before applications are due. And then also be thorough and convincing. The worst applications are people that write 1 or 2 sentences when we say, give a description of your project. And they write 1 sentence. That's not a thorough description. Like, we want to like know what is your vision, right? Like, if you had to explain this to someone that doesn't understand anything about art, how would you explain it to them? What kind of emotions do you want to evoke in this person? Right. So think about that and be very thorough and convincing. So I want to show you real quick a sample application. This was created, and this is also available on our website. Do you need me to pull it up again, or do you have it?
I have it. Let me share my screen. So this is our sample application for visual arts. And yes, it is available on the website for you to dig more thoroughly. And then if you have questions about this, feel free to book that one-on-one with Desi or Nicole. And I'm seeing a couple of folks asking about how to book the one-on-one. Their scheduling links are on our site as well, and the end of our presentation.
Yeah, so we basically does everyone know who Human is? She's a Panay visual artist who does these huge, large scale murals. And in 2021, at the end of 2021, she did a huge, how do I even describe this? It was like an experiential exhibit in Seal Space in Berkeley, where she rented out the entire warehouse and she created all these beautiful pieces of AR arts, augmented reality art. It was like things that you can walk through, huge rooms you could just walk through. She used AR art. She also used real paint and spray paint and just created this huge murals. It was amazing. It was beautiful. And so we just basically took that as an example, right? And plugged it into our application so that you can sort of see what is an application that would most likely score really high, right? So it's talking about artistic merit, the why, how is this pushing our community forward? She talks about trauma, her why behind each project, and the use of AR and VR, and the consciousness into a new dimension, you know? And so the other big part of scoring for judges, I will say, is your timeline and your budget. And what I want to say about timeline is, if you create a timeline that doesn't seem like it's rooted in reality and it's not realistic, the judges will know, right? These are artists that have been doing this for decades. So be realistic in your timeline, right? This is why, if you see this timeline as an example, there's only one or two things in each month, right? But also know, like, if you're going to do an album, maybe you're not going to do all of it in 1 month, right? Maybe you're going to do the recording in 1 month, and then the next month you're going to be working on the composition of the music. The following month you're going to be working with collaborating with other artists. Finally, at the end, you're getting it mastered by someone, right? And mixed by someone. Scroll down, please. And then also you have to keep in mind too, you're not only creating your project, but you're going to be presenting it. So although we will be helping you every step of the way, and we have a full marketing team to help market your final presentation, and preview and premiering of this project, we still need you to do the work as far as getting this event off the ground, right? So you're going to be helping us produce this event in a way because you're going to be the curator of what your audience is going to see the moment they step through the door to the final bow, right? What is your friends, your family, your community, your kapwa, your coworkers, what are they going to see when they walk in, you know, waiting in the lobby or in the gallery to the moment they leave? What do you want to evoke, right? So think about that too when you're creating the timeline. How do you plug that planning into your timeline? Like it says in the red, clear milestones are outlined here showing progression from start to finish. And then budget. We also had these questions right last year. Okay, I'm a musician, or I'm a musical artist, or I'm a singer-songwriter. I want to do an EP. Does it have to be finished? Yes. It should be finished by the end of it. Now, does it have to be released to the public? Not necessarily. And I'll tell you this why. Tracy and Mikey were like, okay, we're done with our EP or album, but we don't want to drop it and release it to the public just yet, because last year we ended in December. And as you all know, everyone is super busy in December and November because of the holidays. There's Christmas, there's Hanukkah, there's, Kwanzaa. People aren't focused on going out and watching a performance. They're focusing on shopping for Christmas, cleaning their house, cooking for all the people that are going to come over. And so we were like, yes, this makes sense. You don't necessarily have to release it to the public, but it at least has to be done, right? So for us, we needed to see that the album or EP was done. Like, send us all the music tracks just so that we know it's done. That's fine. Just so that we know that you have done this work. And you also have to do a presentation of some kind, right? So Mikey performed at Executive Order. He performed a bunch of his songs, and he showcased his music video that he did last year at Couple Gardens. So that fulfilled the requirements that we set forth in front of him. That fulfilled the agreement that he signed with us, right? But he then dropped his album 3 months later, I think in March. And so that was fine with us. For whatever it makes sense, again, we're supporting you. We want you to succeed. We don't want you to drop your album if it doesn't make sense in the middle of Christmas. So for him, it made sense to drop his album in March when people were more likely going to download and support him as an artist. So the other thing I want you to focus on is the budget, right? We're going to give you X amount of money. Maybe your project is going to require more. That's fine. But just let us know where you going to get that extra money you need. Is it going to be crowd funding? Is it going to be other grants? Just FYI, SOMA Success Center has a grant that's like super easy to apply for and you'll probably get. So look at SOMA Success Center, look at Zellerbach. Zellerbach also is a great source for grants, especially for independent artists and emerging artists in the Bay Area. SFAC is also a good one for artists that are located in San Francisco or have a physical San Francisco address that they can use, right? So these are all other resources that we're happy to give you. But in the expenses, this is what the judges are going to look at. SOMA Success Centers. The judges are going to look at your expenses and see what's realistic, right? We have film people on our panel. If the film people on our panel see emerging filmmaker say, okay, I'm going to use this $5,000 for just me, right? That's not going to bode well. Why? Because film is a team effort. You're going to need yes, maybe you can edit everything on your own, but you're most likely going to need a director of photography. You're going to need craft services. You're going to need to hire actors. You're going to need, people on set, PAs possibly. You're going to need to pay for permitting sometimes, depending on your location. You're going to need to feed people. People aren't going to work just for free, at least for food. In my experience. So all of those things, like put that in your expenses. For visual artists, maybe it's just new paintbrushes, right? Maybe for a screenwriter, it's a new laptop. Maybe you need a new laptop or software that's going to help you write the script that you've been meaning to write for so long. But put that down in your expenses. All of those are viable expenses, and judges are going to look at that. You're going to be scored on that. Okay. You can scroll down. And then the last question is, how does your project address or engage artist sustainability? So how are you going to incorporate this project to monetize your business or get more financial return? And that could be anything. It could be like, I'm doing a music video and I hope to get YouTube ad sales, right? I'm going to be selling merch at all my shows. So that was the example that we have here. I'm going to be selling my tracks. I'll have 5 free to the public, but the rest of the tracks people have to download for $1. Those are all just suggestions. But we are interested in growing artists in their business. So how are you going to sustain your artistry? Okay, we can show the mood board. We're just really quickly. This is also going to give you a high score. Have a mood board. Show us what your vision is. This is just a sample of humans' work, but we just use this as an example. I also want to show you a previous artist that won, Bayani Art. This is their mood board that they actually presented to us. So they did a children's book of animals from the Philippines. And this is the second book that they've done. The other one was Filipino Heroes. And this is what they showed us, right? It's not complete, but at least they have some kind of idea of what this book is going to look like. And then at the end, they said they want to put Babayan in the end. And then they also showed a mock-up. So utilize Canva. Canva is free. Use it. It's also started by Filipina, so support it. Use Canva, use it, and it doesn't even have to be digital. If you want to take pictures of your sketches and you want to upload that into a Google Doc, feel free to do that too. If you have pictures, they showed pictures of little kids from their first book, and how they utilize that in the community by doing free book readings and workshops, and this also acts as a work sample for them, right? So work sample is gonna give you a high score, and also your mood board or your like vision of what your project will be. Okay, we can go back to the presentation. So this is a timeline. We're in May right now, right? Our deadline, which was marked important, June 10th. What I want y'all to do right now is go into your Google Doc or your physical calendar. I have a physical calendar, and you can't see it because I have my green screen up. But right now I want you to put in your calendar, send application June 9th. Because if you put the 10th, you might miss it, right? Give yourself a little padding. I know this is like a trick I do for myself. I give myself an extra day just in case like my Wi-Fi is down, or like my computer's freaking out, or oh crap, I didn't get this work sample that I needed, the link's not working, whatever have you. You want to have that extra day to look at your first draft. Here's a big mistake that people have done in their application. Instead of linking a work sample or a mood board, they accidentally link their whole website. Don't do that. Please don't do that. Don't link your website. Why? Because the judges aren't going to know what on this website am I looking at. Is it the homepage? Is it their videos? What is it? So for work samples, for example, put together either a PDF or just one link, maybe a Google folder of 3 things the judges are going to see. I would say 3 to 5 things. 5 is even pushing it, because again, these judges are going to be going through a lot of applications. What you don't want to do is have them do a lot of guesswork. Which of these 17 links is the best 3? They're not going to have time to go through 17 links, FYI. So pick your best 3 work samples or 5 and put those up. They will thank you. The more concise you are, the better for work samples. Don't make them watch an hour-long video when the best part is at the end. Give them a time code. Say, hey, this is me performing la 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 la. Best time code to watch is from the 5-minute mark to the 6-minute mark. There, right? If you have time to edit a video, a reel together as your work sample, even more power to you. But I know we're all busy people. We all have to survive in the Bay Area. We all have full-time jobs, or maybe a million full-time jobs and kids, and we got to eat. So make it easy for our judges, right? Because that's what's going to separate the higher scores from the lower scores. And I've seen it time and time again where people would just like give them a website or an Instagram. Please don't give us an Instagram. Make some time to create a deck of your work samples, or even just a PDF document of your work samples. Don't be lazy and just link a website or an Instagram profile or a Google folder with 30 links and 30 videos, right? Like, you want to put your best foot forward. So take the time to do that. And this is why I'm saying don't procrastinate, right? Because you want to make sure these links work. And I've seen this time and time again. People will link to something and it's not the thing they actually want. It's something that's like not even like closely familiar to their work. And they were this close to like getting a high score. So don't do that. Okay, so this is the important timeline. June 3rd is the last day to submit questions on our website. June 7th, we will answer all the questions in a FAQ document. June 10th is when the applications are due that night. But again, have it in your head, it's due June 9th, right? So that you have the 10th for any last minute changes you want to do on your deck or whatever. Double check, right? Have a friend go through your application. That's even a better tip. Have someone that doesn't even know art to go through your application to read it, make sure it makes sense to them. Does it look solid? Do all the links work? And then July 8th is when, after all the judges have scored, we get the scores in. Iggy and I go through it all, and we will notify the folks that have won or are the newest creative growth artists for 2024. And then July 10th is when we will publicly announce that. So the 17th is when the masterclass series begins. Also, FYI, it's open to the public. So even if you don't get picked, but you want to know how to apply to other grants, you want to talk to our grants panel, sign up. It's sliding scale. So if you want to pay $1 for these classes, that's fine. Pay $1. If you want to pay $10, $100, it's whatever you want to pay, right? So masterclass is for everyone. We want to make it accessible to folks because, again, we're here for artists to thrive, right? We're not trying to gatekeep information. We want people to succeed in their art. That 17th is also when our artists will get their first check. So FYI, again, this is not a grant. This is a residency program. So you're not getting this $4,000 right off the bat. I'm going to tell you all of that right now. I'm going to be 100% transparent. It's going to come in the form of 3 checks. It's going to be broken down 3 ways, right? So your first check will be as soon as you start, as soon as you agree to take the masterclass series, have sessions with a mentor, do the work, create this art, and then present it. Then second check comes after you finish the masterclass. So that's like September, mid-September, right? Once you finish the masterclass, you maybe watched all the recordings, you learned all the things you need to learn, we cut you the second check. And then the third check comes after you present your work, right? In December, January, February. So whenever you present your work, you filled out the form or the report, like, how did it go? It's super simple. It's just like, how was it? Did you meet your expectations, your own goals? What could we have done differently, right? You fill out the report, bam, you get your third artist stipend. And so this is why we have changed it from a grant format to a residency program, because not only are we supporting you, but we want to see you grow and evolve. We want to see you create, but we're also supporting you throughout the year, right? It's the January, February. So January, February is when we will be presenting your work. FYI, all the presentations that we have you do, whether that's a film premiere to a musical performance to stand-up comedy, it all needs to be free to our SOMA community. You can ask for donations. You can ask for a sliding scale donation. You can, ask on our website or in person, and you will get those donations. Those are all for you. That's for you and your work. But because we get our grants from San Francisco Arts Council, we need these presentations to be free for our SOMA community members, right? So we do not charge them because they're part of the community that we want to thrive. All right, last slide. Okay, well, the last slide is Q&A. So let's open it up. And Iggy, can you at least put our one-on-one links in the chat? Thank you. So if you have a question, feel free to either unmute or raise your hand or put it in the chat. Okay, Julia, go ahead.
I have 3 very short questions.
Yes.
So for the studio, sorry. Sorry. For the studio, is it a bare bone studio or is there gonna be art supplies there? Access to art supplies? Would I have to bring everything?
Great question. We have a studio which is like a co-working studio with other artists. Currently, we have, I want to say 10 artists there. We do not provide any supplies. You would have to bring your own, and that's something you should put in your budget. Like if you need to purchase like paintbrushes or paper, I don't know, paints. But what we do have is a paint sink, we have the typical things, bathroom, kitchenette area. We have other artists there with tools. We have a Cricut. We have things that are available to you. Sears, our resident artist, that's been there since the inception of Balay Kreative, and he's super chill with people using his tools, but that's something you have to ask him. So we've had he has sewing machines that Chichai and Jen Band both have used for their art projects, right? We have extra paint from previous murals that we've had done inside Balay Kreative. So I won't say we don't have anything, but and you would probably have to bring in your own supplies that you deem necessary for your own project,
Okay,
individual project.
that sounds good.
Mhm.
So for the visual arts, could it be a combination of painting, printmaking, and like an immersive or
Yeah,
assemblage? So
yeah.
it, okay,
It could be anything you want.
okay.
That all sounds great.
I
You
have
just you just
one,
have to be very clear in your application on your vision for that. Like what would that look like?
yeah,
You know?
yeah. Um, one last question that I have um, is so um, for the calendar for scheduling or the timeline, I see installing the exhibit, developing marketing pieces, and so on. I don't see any scheduling as to actually creating the pieces. So do the pieces have to be already created before I
So
begin the
no,
resident?
that would be during your timeline. So let's say the master class ends September. So you have from even before that, even before the master class ends, let's say you get your first check in July. You can start right away. Right. So from July up until January, you're working on your piece. Right. And then you present it in January, February, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
And can I have two residency? Like if I applied for another residency and I got both residency, could I work at both?
Do you mean at Balai, like both tracks, or do you mean at another
No, no,
space?
no. Like, so say that I got the visual arts residency at Balai, but I got another residency at somewhere else.
Yeah, you could do both. Yeah,
Okay.
that more power to you. That's great. You have two spaces. That's fine. No, we definitely have artists. Like Christine Blanco is a current resident artist, and she has a residency in Oakland. So we actually don't see Christine a lot because she's at her other residency. She also had a residency at ooh, what is it called? It's in the Presidio. I forget the name of it, but she had another artist studio available to her, and she worked for months in that artist studio. So it's all up to you. And you also don't have to use our space. If you're like, no, I'd rather just work at home or write my music at home and I just need Balai to film a music video, that's what Mikey did, right? We only saw him when he had to film music videos. That's fine too. Nicole was one of the only ones that used our space, and she, created her turnos. She had a sewing machine at Balai. She used our what is the thing called with the plastic? But she used a lot of our tools and Sears tools. And she was one of the only ones in our cohort that used our space. And that's okay too. We just want to support you as best we can. Go ahead, Iggy.
Yeah, so Julia, I hope that answers your question. Like, please feel free to follow up with Nicole over email. We do have 2 more questions in the chat. Rad asked, final presentations, is it possible to do it virtually or is it mandatory to be in person?
It has to be in person in SOMA. So that's one of the expectations and requirements is your final presentation has to happen in the SOMA. And this is why we also only take people who are from the Bay Area, because if we do something like LA folks, they won't necessarily have access. We won't be able to afford to fly them up to the SOMA.
Okay, great. And Jowie and then Kirthi. So Jowie is asking, can folks apply for multiple tracks?
You can, but you can only win one. So just letting you know, you can't win all 3, Joey. And I will also say this, Joey, aim for the one you think you are strongest at. The most competitive tracks are visual arts and music. Right. So that's why we have two winners in each of those tracks. So if you think you're very strong in music and you can compete against someone like Wida or Nick Bo or Mikey V, go for it. Do it. Or if you're like, no, my strength is film, do that. I would say focus more on the one you're stronger at. Don't waste your time on one that you're like, not passionate about.
Okay, and then Kirthi had a question. Feel free to unmute.
Okay, thank you. So two questions. One, hopefully it's obvious, but the project doesn't have to be SOMA themed. It just has to be presented. Okay. And then also for film, for example, I am a filmmaker who like does it all. Like I film, I edit, I direct, and $5,000 isn't a lot for a film.
Yeah.
So like would that, because I think you had mentioned like, oh, it would be weird if someone was like using it for their project stipend or something, but like in the sense, if I can demonstrate like samples of what I've done,
Yeah.
would that be okay?
Yeah. But also in your budget, it also makes sense. Like we had Rita was like, well, I also need to pay rent, pay your rent, but the judges are going to look, is this person only using the $5,000 for rent,
Well,
or
I mean,
is it for your project?
we can break it down for like the edit, like the
Yeah.
filming,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they don't have to know who's doing it necessarily.
Yeah, but also make sure it makes sense, right, in the breakdown of the budget.
Yeah.
Because like you said, film is expensive. I'm a filmmaker as well.
Yeah.
You can't do a film in 5,000. You could do maybe like a very short film. We've had people do it documentary style, and a narrative, a short film, but also they had a lot of their friends working for free. So it's possible for $5,000. Just know that the judges are going to score you based. One of the biggest things is budget.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, okay, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Anyone else?
I guess for that budget question, like, because I know in like film grants, you write like, if you have a budget of 10,000, you write like other grants you're applying for.
Yes.
So like, would it be like same thing? Like,
Yes.
throughout the
So
budget?
include that in your income. Like these
Great.
are the other ones I'm applying for.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Tanza?
Hi, I just had a question. So you've mentioned multiple times that there's like a scoring system or the high score. Is that like a metaphor or is there like an actual rubric that we can have and think about?
There's an actual rubric. We give it to our judges, and it's basically like 5 points for budget, 5 being the highest, 1 being for lowest, right? So 5 is like, is this budget realistic? Another rubric is work sample. How clear are these work samples, right? Project deck, mood board. What is the vision? Is the vision clear? Description, right? Also, how is this going to impact the community and culture? How is it pushing the culture forward? Those 4 to 5 things, those are the things that are going to make you score higher in that rubric. Those are the 5 most important things in that rubric.
Okay, could you repeat that?
Yeah. So timeline,
Mhm.
budget, description, mood board, work sample,
Okay. Thank you.
and also impact. So 5 to 6. So that's what I was saying. Like, be thorough in your explanation. Don't just spend a sentence.
Mhm.
And then we have one here from Andrea. I want to start a project in the visual arts category. I do not currently have physical art background in it. I wanted to make this a learning opportunity. I feel discouraged to apply. I don't have any background. Would it still be okay to apply? Yes! Apply! This is the reason why we do these grants, right? This is what I was telling you. Let me be your mama bear in arts. I believe in you. I haven't even seen your work. I believe you can do this. Apply. We've had folks that like are tech writers, but they want to write their first screenplay. We've had people that only design fonts for Google, but they want to design their own Filipino fonts, right? Like, these are important art forms for us. And if we don't support people who don't have the background, then we might have never gotten the art that we've had now in the program, right? So if you have imposter syndrome, let that shit go. We believe in you. We want to support you. We want to see the art created, no matter what your background is, no matter if you've never picked up a paintbrush or a film camera or a mic, or taken an improv class. That's okay. Come as you are. We're not judging you. I mean, technically we are, because we have a panel of judges, but we want to support you. So the best thing to do is just try, right? Just apply. We've had folks that have applied 5 times. Tracy Cruz, who just got it last year, she applied every year. And she just got it last year. And she's been singing for decades. And when I say decades, we are both in our 40s. Like, she has been singing since she was like 16. So she is like a legacy artist, and she just got it. Ramon too. Ramon is a legacy artist, and he was a creative growth. So you can be a legacy artist. You can be someone that's never picked up a paintbrush. I suggest everyone apply. If you have a calling, if you have like a whisper in your ear that you should do this, that's your invitation. Do it. Yes, Don said, we'll support you anyways. Yes. Anyone else? Last question. Oh, we're 7 minutes over. I apologize. All right. If there's no more questions, I'm going to go to the CAMFest Gala. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. And if you think of any questions,